UFC Fight Night, Cejudo versus Song, underdog of the card. We're going to look through all 11 underdogs on this UFC Fight Night and kind of figure out which one is the most valuable to actually bet on. We're not going to be looking at just who are the underdogs I think are going to go out there and actually win, because I only believe 2 underdogs on this card are going to go out there and win. But we're going to look at is how valuable all of these underdogs are to bet on, because John Silva should not be that big of a favorite. Melseek is actually a decent underdog to bet on, in my opinion, this week. So that is what we're going to be talking about. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Check out the pinned comment down below for all of my MMA bets on this card, along with 4 other great perks. We got early fight news on fights that aren't announced yet, but we got kind of the inside scoop on a few fights inside of the UFC. We got full UFC rankings, not just the top 15, but the entire UFC roster. I'm going to be ranking all of those. We got the best prospects outside of the UFC, and a way for you guys to ask questions to current UFC fighters. So if you have a question for Mansour Abdul Malik, who is fighting on this card, you can tell me, and I'll literally ask their question and give it right back to you. So check out the pinned comment down below. Become a channel member. All of these 5 perks included. But let's get it started with the first fight of the night, Modestas versus Rafael Cerquillera, and kind of figure out, is Rafael a good dog? He's at plus 250 right now in the UFC's light heavyweight division. Modestas Bukauskas, his last few fights, he was a slight minus 144 favorite against Marcin Prachnio. He was a slight minus 175 favorite over Zach Ponga, an underdog against Tyson Pedro. This is the biggest favorite he has been since joining back inside of the UFC. I personally don't think he should be that big of a favorite. I think if you're going to do anything with this one, you got to be looking at the props for sure. I wouldn't do anything either way. This is not a fight I want to bet on. I would definitely say Rafael is not my underdog of the card. Just not a lot of value either way. It's a risky bet putting Modestas in a parlay. I wouldn't do that. And it's a risky bet just sprinkling on Rafael Cerquillera as well, because he's really, really unproven. 0-1 in the UFC, getting knocked out really badly by Ibo Aslan. So that's a stay away fight for me in terms of the underdog. Mansour Abdul Malik taking on Nick Klein. This is definitely not my underdog of the card, even though he's plus 700, which is insane odds for a UFC fight. I kind of think it's warranted. I really, really do. I really do. I think it should be like slightly less, but I kind of think Mansour Abdul Malik is the perfect fighter to beat Nick Klein. Better striking, more power, way better wrestling. And Nick Klein, all he's got is the grappling, but when you got way better wrestling, you're going to defend their takedowns and you're going to outstrike them on the feet. So I feel really good about Mansour Abdul Malik, and I can't really see him losing. I can't see him getting submitted in this fight. I can only see him winning. So no, Mansour Abdul Malik is not going to be my underdog of the card. Then we got Javid Basharat and Ricky Simone at Bantamweight. This is definitely a good dog. This is one of the top 4 underdogs of the card for sure. For sure. You can look at the thumbnail to this video. Ricky Simone is going to be in the thumbnail, 100%. Plus 240 is the best you're going to get on DraftKings right now. Ricky Simone, if you look at his MMA career, this man has gone out there and beaten guys like Merab Dvalishvili, like Montel Jackson, who's a top 15 current UFC bantamweight. He lost to Rob Font by decision. Okay, beat Ray Borg. He beat Rafael Assunção. He submitted Jack Shore and only lost to, look at these guys, Yadong Song, who's in the main event today, Mario Bautista, a top 10 UFC bantamweight, and Vinicius Oliveira. This dude's an absolute beast. And guess what? He was actually the favorite in all of these matchups. He was favored to win all 3 against Vinicius, against Bautista, and against Yadong Song. And just out of nowhere, against Javid Basharat, he's a 3-1 underdog. Just because he lost to the best of the best in the bantamweight division. Again, Javid is good. Javid is very good. 3-1 in the UFC. But his most notable win is Tony Gravely, not in the UFC. Trevin Jones, not in the UFC. Mendonca, not in the UFC. No contest, and then he lost. He's beating guys that aren't UFC caliber. This is a massive step up in competition. He lost his last step up in Ayman Zahabi. This is still a big step up in Ricky Simone, and I think he loses. I think he loses the fight 4 times out of 10. 4.5 times out of 10. I think Javid winning this fight 75% of the time is ludicrous. So, of course, this might be my number 2. It's got to be number 2, number 3. I feel very, very good that this is not a fight you want to be betting Javid Basharat as a favorite. Do not be parlaying Javid. This is a dog or pass fight, 100%. Then we do got Nursultan Ruziboyev taking on Eric Makaneko. Again, I don't understand this, but Nursultan Ruziboyev is less of a favorite than Javid Basharat. Nursultan Ruziboyev, I feel really, really good on. Javid, I don't. I don't know why Nursultan and Javid's odds are so similar. So similar. Doesn't make any sense in my opinion. So I do think Nursultan is actually a decent parlay piece. You lost a lot of the value on Nursultan, but I would say Eric Makaneko is just not really worth betting on him. Minus 255. You know, if you can get minus 260 on Nursultan, wouldn't be too bad. So I would definitely not say Eric Makaneko would be an underdog of the card. He's not there. It's not there for me. Iwan Kutelaba, Aibo Aslan. Value-wise, it's not horrible. Value-wise, it is not horrible at all to be betting on Iwan Kutelaba. Because Ibo Aslan, again, he's 1-0 in the UFC. Or sorry, 2-0 in the UFC. Against a guy that's not in the UFC anymore, and against the guy that, again, is just 0-1 in the UFC. I don't know. I don't think he should be. He was an underdog against Rafael. It was a 50-50 fight against Anton Turkalj. Now he's an even bigger favorite against Iwan Kutelaba, who is his toughest test to date. So this is definitely dog or pass. I'm not sure yet if it's going to be in my top 4 best underdogs of the card. But it's definitely a dog or pass, for sure. For sure. Dog or pass. So far, Ricky Simone is in my top 4. Right now, Iwan Kutelaba is on the breaking point. He's like number 4, number 5. He could be in there. But right now, so far, it's just Ricky Simone. That's a good dog. Andre Fili is next. He is taking on Melquizael Costa, and he's now the underdog. I'm happy about this because I'm getting to pick another dog on the card. I'm always happy when I pick dogs. Andre is in my top 4. He's an underdog. When you get a plus 100 guy or more, you can get plus 105 on him as well. And I think he's gonna win. You bet on that guy because you're getting more than double your money for a fighter you think wins more than 50% of the time. That's a good bet always. So yeah, Andre Fili, probably number 3, or 4 underdog of the card for sure. Then we got Alonzo Menifield, Julius Walker. I would say the odds are right where they should be. I'll be honest. They're right where they should be. So, not going to be the underdog of the card. I would say there's better value on the dog here than there is on the favorite, but it's not like an absolutely amazing underdog here. So, it's not in my top 4, but definitely not a fight you'd bet on the favorite. I personally won't be betting on the underdog either, but I think if you had to choose one, bet on the underdog. It has a little bit more value. So, but the odds are right around where they kind of should be, in my opinion. But Julius has a little bit of value. Then we got John Matsumoto taking on Melsik Bagdasaryan. This is in my top 4. Again, we got Ricky Simone at number 2. I'm going to have Melsik Bagdasaryan at number 3. Andre Fili at number 4. And then I guess that puts Iwan Kutelaba at number 5. So that's the list we got so far. Number 2 is going to be Ricky Simone. Number 3, Melsik Bagdasaryan. Number 4, Andre Fili. And number 5 is going to be Iwan Kutelaba. I think Melsik Bagdasaryan should be maybe a 2-1 underdog. Something like that. He should not be this big of an underdog. Simple as that. Then we got 2 through 5 as my best underdogs of the card. Now we got number 1. Brendan Allen's not going to be my number 1. Henry Cejudo is not going to be my number 1. Although, if I were to bet either one of them as favorites, either one of their money lines, I would bet the dog. These are still good dog bets. But the number 1 underdog has to be Rob Font. Rob Font. Now, you could have gotten plus 190 on Rob Font for like 12 hours. You had those odds. Plus 185 was there. Plus 175 was there as well. Now he's at plus 155. People are seeing that he shouldn't be as big of a dog as he is. I think he wins outright. and I feel good about him. Like, I don't understand why he's the underdog. John stepping in on short notice off of 2 wins in the UFC over a losing record guy, as well as, who's the other one? Brad Katona, who is 4-4 in the UFC. Now he's a 2-1 favorite, basically, minus 200. When he's stepping in on short notice, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Font going to be my underdog of the card. Again, Anthony Hernandez, Henry Cejudo, still good underdogs. Like, value-wise, they're good. I have, Brendan Allen and Henry Cejudo, value-wise, are good underdogs. I have Fluffy and Yadong Song winning, but those are good value underdogs as well. But number 1, underdog of the card, Rob Font. Number 2 is going to be Ricky Simone. Number 3, going to be Melsik Baghdasaryan or Andre Fili. It's pretty interchangeable there. And then number 5 is going to be Iwan Kutelaba. Everyone else, all these other underdogs, Nick Klein, Rafael Circullera, Eric Macanico, who else do we got? Julius Walker, Brendan Allen, Henry Cejudo. I'm not saying they're all bad underdog bets, but they're not as good as those top 5. Those top 5, in my opinion, are the best underdogs to bet on for this UFC fight. Now, thank you guys for watching. Of course, check out that pinned comment, and we'll see you in the next video.